welcome and thank you so much for tuning into this very special telecast called GST and You. I'm Chaiti Narula. And as the name suggests, GST and You simply means how is the goods and services tax regime going to impact you, the end consumer. It is also going to go a step further and discuss how the supply chain logistics, the manufacturing and also the grocery stores, the kirana stores, the manufacturers, retailers, the wholesalers, how the entire ecology and lay of the land gets impacted with the onset of the GST regime in this country. Joining me today on this special telecast is Dr. Jayajit Bhattacharya, a partner with KPMG, who will walk us through what GST means to you. Thanks much for tuning into GST and You, and as the name suggests, this is a show about GST and how it's going to impact you, which is the end consumer, how it's going to impact the supplier, the MSME businesses and the entire lay of the land. Joining me right now on the show is Dr. Jayajit Bhattacharya, the partner at KPMG, to walk us through what GST really means. Thanks much, Jayajit, for joining us on the show today.
My pleasure, Chaiti.
So let's first start off with what is the goods and services tax basics? As we
need to look back as to what is the tax regime we had earlier.
Right.
In good old days, we had a tax system wherein if you pay a tax and you buy something and you use it to manufacture something else, you would end up paying tax on the previous tax.
Sure.
So if you buy a piece of cloth and you stitch it together and you make a shirt, you'll pay tax on the cloth, and let's say you pay 10 rupees as tax. So the end product will have a component of 10 rupees. And when you pay tax again on the shirt, you'll pay tax on this 10 rupees again.
Correct.
Which was called the cascading effect of tax.
Correct.
Then we adopted a system called modified VAT or mod VAT.
Right.
Because what value added tax means is that you pay tax only on the value addition. So
Right.
if you buy 100 rupees of cloth and you pay 10 rupees of tax on it, then you make a shirt which has maybe 80 rupees of value add, then you pay tax on 190 rupees minus the initial 110 rupees.
Right.
So you only pay tax on the value add you have done.
Sure.
That brings in a level of clarity in the economy and removes distortions in the economy. Because what I would do if this was a regime, I would then try to produce everything in-house. Because if I don't sell as pieces, as a grey cloth, then a printed cloth, then a tailored cloth, then I don't pay these cascading taxes.
Sure.
But that's a distortion of the economy. So we moved into a tax regime which was called VAT. Unfortunately, in VAT also, not everything was allowed to have a tax credit.
Sure.
So if I buy services or I buy fuel, I buy, let's say, oil to run my furnace,
Right.
I would not get a tax credit on it.
Sure.
So it was a partial VAT and not a complete VAT, which meant again that there was distortion in the economy, that people would try to find ways to beat the system.
And evade taxes as well,
And
and
evade
that's
tax.
where exactly it really came from.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's where goods and services taxes came in, especially because the Indian economy has more than 50% of the economy as services. And so if we are not able to tax the services properly and give credit on the taxes paid on services, then again we'll have an economy which is highly distorted.
Sure.
So GST brings in a regime where you have a uniform system of taxation for both
Right.
goods and services,
Right.
and you get credit for almost everything for which you have collected taxes.
Sure.
And
Sure.
that's what the big change is.
Right. So, just to sum it up for the end consumers, all these taxes that you mentioned right now, whether it was the VAT or whether it was the service tax or whether it was any other taxes that came under the indirect tax regime, all of these get subsumed or replaced with that one tax, GST. Is
And I
that what
think
it's all about?
within that question, there's another point is that GST makes life much simpler because it subsumes all these taxes. What are the taxes we're
So
talking
now I have
about?
to just pay one tax. I don't have to pay these multiplicity of taxes
Absolutely.
that I've been paying.
In most cases, you have to pay one tax.
Sure.
So all your OCTRA, your entertainment tax, your luxury tax,
sales and my
SENVAT,
excise.
all of that becomes part of this tax. But in
Right.
most cases, there will be some exceptions.
Sure.
For example, if you're importing, you would still need to pay the basic custom duty,
Right.
right? But post that, your SAD, your countervailing duty, that becomes subsumed in an IGST.
So it's a good thing to have GST because that is just one tax under one roof. One nation,
Absolutely.
one tax is what they were talking about. But the question really is, it is not really one nation, one tax. If you see, the GST Council has come up with 4 taxes, and if you count 0, which is a figure, it becomes 5 taxes. So how is it really one nation, one tax?
Yeah, 0 is definitely a number. Being
Definitely.
an Indian, you would know that
Yeah.
0 was invented here. It's a number. So the challenge was that do we wait for an absolute utopian GST system,
Right.
or should we go ahead with a system which is closer to GST, right?
Sure.
So we had a journey from a completely cascading tax system to a modified VAT system to a GST which is much closer to the reality. Now the challenge was that at the state level, the states have, under the constitution at that point in time,
Right.
had the ability to put their own taxes in. Unless the states agreed to a different tax regime wherein their powers to determine the taxes was taken away, they would not agree to one single tax, and therefore
Right.
one tax, one nation would not
So
happen.
this is all the politicizing within India which has caused this distorted GST regime, so as to speak to.
I wouldn't use the word politicizing. I would
Right.
say it's working through the political structures and mechanisms of the country, which is a reality. When our
Is
forefathers,
that because we are federal?
it is, when the forefathers created the constitution, there was a
Yeah.
concept of federalism in it. Right?
Federalism, yes.
It just meant that the states have the powers to tax,
Right.
and therefore to determine the tax rate.
Right.
Now, to move away from that while maintaining the spirit of federalism is a very challenging aspect.
Right.
We are not the only country which has gone through this problem. We have Canada also, which went through the same problem,
Sure.
where they ended up having two sets of taxes under GST, which is the state taxes and the central taxes.
Federal taxes, yes.
So we had to go through that process. There was no way out. But we have come closer to an ideal GST than what we were earlier.
Right. So, the whole idea of this was that one tax would help the ease of doing business in India, because it's somewhat, the analogy I would like to give is a single window clearance, like you say, in business. But it's really not one tax. So having these 4 tax brackets, including 0-5 tax brackets, wouldn't it be more of a challenge and an impediment to the suppliers and the manufacturers and the retailers alike, or it's going to get easier? How is it going to pan out?
It's become much simpler. Now you have to deal with only these 5 taxes,
Right.
which is 0 and the other taxes,
Right.
right? Having said that, if you're dealing with, let's say, just milk,
Sure.
right? Milk has 0 taxes,
Sure.
right? And therefore you don't need to bother about anything else.
Right.
If you're dealing with, let's say, just shirts,
Right.
shirts will have one single tax, no matter what kind of shirt you are.
So you don't pay those multiplicity of taxes that you were
don't
paying
need
earlier by getting
to pay
rid of all
multiple
of that.
taxes.
Yeah.
You don't need to do warehousing, keeping in mind the taxation effect. You do warehousing based on the logistics optimization.
Right.
So the cost of doing business comes down, and
Right.
therefore the cost to the economy comes down.
Right, right,
Because the
right.
distortion in your supply chain doesn't happen because of taxation,
Sure.
and that's
sure.
the benefit.
Sure.
So you may have the 5 tax rates,
Yeah.
but net to you it becomes a much simpler operation to run.
Right. So Jayjeet, now you mentioned that the supply chain logistics gets benefited from the rollout of the GST regime. That also means that the cost of manufacturing will come down. If the cost of manufacturing comes down, it's only common sense to feel as a consumer that the manufacturers are not going to then end up giving the benefit of saving taxes to the end consumer. They will, right? Which means your MRPs will come dropping down as well. Is it fair for me to assess and say that the cost of manufactured goods, whether it is clothes, whether it's makeup, whether it is groceries, all of that is going to come down for me? I mean, I'm going to come to services later.
So let's look at the big picture
Right.
first. The consumers gain, the manufacturers gain, the government gains. Then who loses?
Who's losing? Yeah.
Right? So somebody is losing. So
Yes.
let's look at the details of
Sure.
who's losing
Sure,
out.
sure.
The entity which is losing out are those who were not paying taxes earlier. That's the largest set of people who are losing out.
They're coming under the tax bracket.
So now they're coming under the tax bracket, so they're
Right.
losing out because they
Right,
were not
right.
paying taxes
They were
earlier.
evaders.
Now they have to pay taxes.
Right.
So if in the shirt or the clothes that you're wearing,
Yeah.
there was an entity in the value chain who was not paying taxes and simply supplying the material,
Right.
they had a competitive advantage, right?
Right.
And it was a distorted competitive advantage.
Absolutely.
Now that will go away.
Yeah.
When that goes away, that additional tax of his or her value add comes in, and
It's
therefore
factored into the manufacturing cost. right?
absolutely, now that goes in, and which means that your end product may or may not be the same price as earlier, maybe a little bit more expensive because there's no more tax evasion. So overall, even if you have reduced the cascading of taxes, you have made sure there's no tax leakage, so the cost of tax gets added up. That's a short-term impact. In the long term, because you have the benefit of your supply chain becoming better because
Right.
of GST,
Right.
the entire cost of manufacturing comes down. So eventually, in the medium term to long term, the cost will definitely come down. the cost of the entire economy will come down, will become far more competitive. So if you want to set up business here and you want to export outside of India, you will be more competitive than others will be because of GST.
So you mentioned Malaysia now, you mentioned Canada as well. So how are these other countries who have adopted to a goods and services tax regime and one nation, one tax adapted well to that regime? Are they doing well? Or are there any learnings that we can take as a country from them as to where they went wrong and we should avoid those learnings as well?
I think since you mentioned these two countries, Malaysia and Canada, I think the one key learning is to do what is right for your own country.
Right.
Why I'm saying that is Malaysia went for one country, one tax. Canada had two sets of taxes,
Sure.
the central tax and the state taxes. And therefore we have to look at the realities and then create the GST according to our realities. Beyond that, we should be ready to expect the inflation to happen. And that's the key learning. That's happening every single place where GST was introduced. Short-term inflation will happen, but in the medium to long term, it will become a more cost-effective society. And therefore, you see Malaysian goods are very competitive internationally because they've got GST in place. And that helps. That's just one of the things, but it helps.
So, staying with the good parts about the GST, one is the tax evaders get completely brought into the system completely, which means that they can't evade taxes anymore. The other thing is corruption. Do we see corruption within the system get weaned off because of the GST coming? And I'm going to come to the negatives very soon after this.
No, absolutely. You see, there are two reasons why corruption is going to get diminished in this system.
Right.
One is every single leg in the GST is paying a very small tax. Right? You're only paying tax on the value add that you have done.
Right.
And therefore your incentive to avoid taxes gets significantly reduced, right? And the penalties for avoiding tax is significantly higher. The second part to it, which is both a good and a challenge, is the fact that everything has become electronic. So all your invoices, especially if you are a B2B trader, all your invoices needs to be electronic, and they needs to be filed electronically, which means the ability to scrutinize everybody and to use big data to find out who's evading taxes becomes that much easier.
Sure.
And the third point between these two issues, the third point is that suppose you are selling to me and I'm selling to somebody else. If I don't report, you report and he or she reports, then I get caught in the middle. So there is very little scope for me to avoid taxes, and that's because of the triangulation between IT systems and the nature of the taxation system that I get.
So Jayjeet, now that we are done going over how the cost of the manufactured goods is going to come down in the long run, and we've understood why there is a short-term inflation as well, what I'm not understanding completely is the service tax. Why is it from 12 plus assess, they've brought it in the 18% ambit? What has been the rationale of the GST Council to make services more expensive in this country?
It's linked to your previous question of one nation, one tax.
Right.
The objective was to have one single tax rate.
Sure.
And 18% was what people were coming down to. And why should there be a difference between a service and a regular goods?
Right.
So most of the goods are taxed at 18%.
Sure.
Right? And a service is like anything else. There's no difference between a goods and a service.
Absolutely.
Which is why this is based in alignment.
Oh, it's just an alignment.
It's just in alignment with the existing tax rate. That's how it has come up to 18%. And as I said, services is an important component of the economy. If we end up paying the right taxes, then everybody else's taxes also goes down. At the end of the day, one of the other reasons why the taxes will eventually go down, or the net cost of tax will go down, is because more people are paying and more people are paying appropriate taxes, right? And for that reason, the government would then start looking at ways of reducing the taxation, and therefore the cost of goods will start coming down. It's a longer process.
So one needs to analyze the long-term benefits of the GST before starting to criticize the GST in many ways than one. But there's another problem. When demonetization came in, it came in with a bang. It was accepted very positively by most. But the implementation is where the government really fell apart. The most of the criticism that came towards the government was on the implementation of the demonetization move more than demonetization itself. Now, is this government discerning enough? Is it ready enough to implement GST the manner in which and the rationale behind with which it is brought into the system?
See, I think the first thing we need to be cognizant of that India is perhaps one of the most complex countries in the world.
Right.
Given the federal system, given the nature of taxes we had, and any system change that happens in such a complex background will, under whatever circumstances, have a little bit of pain involved. In fact, little bit of pain will be an understatement. There will be pain as you move forward. There doesn't seem to be an option to that. Is the government well prepared? I would say if you look at the core system of GSTN, I think that's a brilliant concept has been put together. The GSTN system itself is absolutely a robust system. It's very scalable. If you look at the fact that this entire system will be carrying 50% of the revenues of the government, it will be a prime target for cyber attacks, and therefore making sure that the system is absolutely cyber attack proof is important. And I believe that GSTN has been made absolutely attack proof in that sense. A lot of VAPD testing and other testings have been done. That's one part of it. There's a systems part of it. The other part of it is the human readiness thing, right? Now, if you look at from the perspective that a lot of people were not paying taxes,
Right.
for them, even the ability to pay tax is a challenge.
Correct.
Then those who are paying taxes, they need to make sure that they understand what this new way of taxes is,
Right.
and how they're going to make sure that the tax rate of the previous goods that they purchase is taken care of post 1st of July. Otherwise,
Right.
they'll lose that tax rate.
Right.
That's a complex issue.
Right.
And if you look around in the small, you will see a lot of the stores offering large amount of
Yeah,
sales.
just take a look around. Everything is on 30 and 40 and 50% discount.
Absolutely, and that's part of the transition process.
Right,
Because post 1st of July, the tax rates that will come onto them will be a different tax rate. In most cases, it will be higher because there are clothes around, right?
Right.
And if it's higher, they can take a tax credit. But the norms of the tax rate came a little late in the
Yeah.
day, and moreover, there's some discretionariness in that, and there's some paperwork needed. Now, as a nation, we're not very good at paperwork of keeping the
We're
track.
not, yeah.
So how will the stores prove that they had paid the taxes earlier? And why would the government let weak proofs come in? Because that will be used by those who are avoiding taxes to avoid taxes.
Correct.
So it's a catch-22 situation, and it's one of those transitionary pains.
Yeah.
The third point is that the
So which
taxes.
is why we're seeing so much of distress sale happening around the malls
Absolutely.
everywhere. They're just getting
Absolutely.
rid of their old stock.
They're getting rid of their old stock
Yeah.
so that they don't need to sell the stocks at a
Yeah.
higher tax
Yeah.
and not get the tax credit,
Yeah.
because it's complex to do that.
Got it. The third point you
Having said that, the third point is that all invoices have to be filed with the government electronically. Right now, you would see everybody is using a paper, right?
Correct.
If you use a paper, you have to still transfer it electronically and then file it with GST. That's a big challenge,
Yeah.
right? The last point in this, and these are only the key points. I'm just talking the key points. The last point is that all the filings have to be in English. The invoice have to be in English. Now, if you are in Tamil Nadu, you're in West Bengal, you're in Araku Valley in Andhra Pradesh,
Yes.
getting to know English and typing in English and getting it filed is a challenge. Now, assuming you can do all of this, for one moment, let's assume you can do all of that. How will you get connectivity, right?
Correct.
So
a lot
again,
of
GSTN has thought through some of these issues, and they have mitigated the problem. They've given spreadsheets and solutions which you can keep offline, and you can use them, and whenever you go online, you can file them. But it's not easy to go online.
So the implementation is still a very big question mark. We will only come to know once it sets in to see what kind of frenzy all these stores are going through, what kind of a frenzy all these vendors are going through. I'm talking of vendors who do not even know how to write English or talk English. I'm talking about vendors who do not have internet connectivity, don't have a laptop, have no clue how to file their taxes online. I mean, do you think the entire system and the entire stream of the goods from the point when they're getting manufactured coming in to the hands of the end consumer, is that likely to go through a bit of a mad frenzy?
It will. It will, given that the human preparedness is not there.
Correct.
There have been a significant amount of outreach from the government and from many private players.
Right.
But again, as I said, a nation of 1.2 billion people, out of which there will be at least 30-40 million taxpayers. At least 8 million are registered with
Yeah.
GSTN.
Yeah.
So getting 8 million people to pay taxes will be very, very challenging to do.
GST is not as simple as it seems. It's very complex. I remember you explaining to me once offline about how there are 1,000 taxes per month that a manufacturer or a supplier or a retailer would have to pay. Could you walk us through that?
So yeah, let me first clarify that it's complex, but not as complex as the current system. So it's a
Right.
simplification of the current system.
Right.
But we have not reached the level where we just wanted a simple tax to be paid.
Right.
Most people in this country are honest taxpayers who just want a simple system to pay the taxes and be done with it.
Sure.
That was one of the reasons why we had GST. If you look at GST, and if you are a seller who's selling all over India, you need to file taxes in 29 states, right?
Right.
And you need to have at least 3 filings a month. There are some clarifications that these are not filings, you only need to check, but you need to go through 3 processes a month, right? You need to file GSTR 1 at least. You have to look at GSTR 2 and say it's okay, and you have to look at GSTR 3 and say it's okay. That's a lot of processing. You do it for 29 states, that's about 29 into 3, about 900 such filings, well 60 filings, and then you do it for 12 months in a year, that comes to about 900 to 1000 filings.
A year.
So 30 into, roughly speaking, 30 into 3 into 12 becomes about 1000 filings in a year. That's a lot of filings. And on top of it, what's
This is why I
happening,
said the entire system has the potential to go into an absolute frenzy. 1,000 taxes per annum, and most CAs that I've been speaking to have no clue how to do this.
now, you know, that 1000 number is also just a blanket, right? Now, if you look at each one of them, every year, every month, if you're a B2B player especially,
Yeah.
you have to file all your invoices, right?
Right.
And there may be hundreds and thousands of invoices every month. If there's a mismatch, and there will definitely be a mismatch,
Yes.
then when GSTR 2 comes in, you have to start calling your supplier and keep telling him to change certain things in each of the invoices where there's a mismatch. In the current system, you kind of ignore some of these mismatches and you move
Yeah.
forward. That will be very difficult to do because you will end up losing credit. On top of it, if you choose to have only a manual system, don't enter your invoices in the system right at the beginning, then whoever translates that into a online system will make mistakes because there'll be human errors coming in.
Right, right.
Every single invoice lost or made a mistake, you lose roughly about 18% on that entire deal because you can't take tax credit on that.
Right.
That's a
right.
significant amount.
So Jayjeet, apart from this complexity of the CAs not knowing, and of course there's also a big question that comes up as to the MNCs have companies like you that can help them, but it is the Kirana stores and your local supermarkets and your local fruit and vegetable vendors who would not really know where to go because CAs are not tax compliant or aware right now as to how this whole process would pan out to be. In fact, we should also clear a few myths for our audiences right there. A lot of questions really coming up as to when I go to the supermarket and buy my groceries for the month, is it going to get more expensive on my wallet? Is it going to get cheaper for me on my wallet? We're going to discuss all of this and much more with Dr. Jayjeet Bhattacharya, partner of KPMG, on the other side of this very short break right here on GST and News. Stay with us. Thank you so much for staying with us right here on this special episode of GST and You. And as the name suggests, this is about how GST ends up impacting you, which is why we've made a special trip to the supermarket right here at Big Bazaar to find out what really happens to your monthly grocery bills. Now, Dr. Jayjeet Bhattacharya joins us again on this segment as well. Jayjeet, now we're at a supermarket. A lot of myths floating around the GST as to how the supermarkets are going to go in a frenzy. There might be a shortage of supply. There might be a shortage of medicines at the pharmacy as well. Let's clarify these myths to begin with, and then we can tell our viewers about how it's going to impact their wallet as well.
Let's look at the shortages first.
Right.
We're a few days away from GST and you don't see any shortages anywhere.
Yeah.
So I don't think those myths about shortages have anything truthful in it.
Right.
There'll always be challenges, as we mentioned earlier, that there will be some transitionary challenges.
Right.
Insofar as your second question is concerned in terms of how it's going to impact the monthly bill, we'll see how it pans out. But in terms of your food items, there should not be much of an impact.
Right.
Because food items were not being taxed earlier.
Right.
They're not going to tax now either. Unless you move the food item from here and take them there, which is the packaged foods.
All right, so this is rice which is available without being packaged, and this is rice and atta which is available with package. Now, if I shop from that, how does it change the amount I end up paying at the counter? And if I shop for these, how does it really change?
So if you shop for that, then theoretically there is no change. And I'll explain to you why it's theoretical and why
Right.
in reality there
Right.
still might be an
Right.
impact. If you shop from there,
Which is
you
the
get
packaged.
you get a 5% extra tax to pay,
Right.
right? And there was a tax earlier also. Now it's been simplified to a 5% tax.
Yeah.
We need to look at the entire value chain to eventually see whether it'll be cheaper or more expensive. But the point is, you were paying a tax earlier, you're going to pay a tax now
But you know,
also.
I'm just going to pick up any of these here. Now, if you see here, you've got an MRP somewhere here. Here, there is an MRP. Now, they are not mentioning how much taxes was I paying earlier because of the cascading tax effect.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Now, after the GST rollout, would we have a change in the maximum retail price of this product with a specification of the 5% on this coming in here? How is it going to work? How is this going to look
So
when I
the
check the
labeling
prices?
is driven by a different department called the Department of Metrology.
Yeah.
Right, and they are still going to have their rules wherein you need to
Yeah.
put in the sticker
Yeah.
with the MRP in it.
Right.
If you have noticed, MRP says inclusive of all taxes, and it's a
Correct.
maximum
Correct.
retail price.
Correct.
If you look at the rules that has been drafted by the government
Right.
now, the anti-profiteering rule,
Right.
the suppliers have to make sure that those who are getting the benefit of GST have to pass it on to the end consumer.
Sure.
So it is expected that you will end up seeing a slightly lower price tag in the packaged foods.
So this price is going to go down. So
It
if I-
may go slightly.
It may go slightly down. All the pricing of all these attas and rice and all the pulses that we're seeing, it might get just a little tad easier on my
That's
wallet
right.
now.
That's
But what
right.
happens when I shop here?
Now,
if I buy
in
this
both
loose
of
chawal,
both of these cases, even though there's no tax in the rice per se,
Right.
but you have to transport rice, right?
Right.
There's some services involved
Right.
when
Right.
the rice
right.
comes to you.
Right.
In the GST regime, you have to pay taxes on those services.
Sure.
You have to pay taxes on the transportation earlier also.
Right.
But the services were getting differently treated.
Right.
Now you'll have a uniform tax on the services.
Right.
So if somebody has to polish the rice, right, it goes through a mill and gets polished.
Right.
That's a service,
Right.
right? And therefore that will get taxed appropriately. And therefore, will we get a benefit of the tax on this good? No, because
No.
you're not paying a tax at the end of it. There's
Right.
0% tax.
Right.
So that tax gets absorbed in the cost, right?
Right.
But if you look at the other one, the packaged good, because in that 5% tax, you also have the ability to take tax credit of all the services that you bought.
Mm-hmm.
Your net eventual tax may be slightly lower.
So net, when I come out shopping at Big Bazaar next time to buy my monthly groceries, my bill would read differently for the same products and a lower price eventually from my wallet than what I used to pay before GST came in.
Right. I don't
There
want
would
to
be a
commit to
slight
the lower
difference.
price. It may be a higher price. All I'm trying to say is that there is a supply chain in even a simple thing as, let's say, the pulses, right?
Correct.
There's a supply chain which was being treated differently earlier.
And now it is treated.
And now it's treated differently,
Yeah.
right? And the end of it, this side is not taxed, it's zero tax. That side is taxed.
Right.
That's not necessarily good or bad.
Right.
Because if it taxed, then you can take the tax rate of all the other value chain taxes that were paid earlier. In this case, you can't take benefit of that.
All right, so just for the benefit of our viewers now, is it wiser for me as an average Indian consumer to go buy from my local kirana store to come to a supermarket like this, or go through those fly-by-night vendors that you see on the streets as well, who don't even end up paying any tax? So does that change anything for me between the three? Or there's also another new entrant of e-commerce and your big baskets of the world and your Spencers of the world. You can buy all these fruits and vegetables that you see here online as well. So one is brick and mortar versus e-commerce, and secondly, within brick and mortar as well, kirana store, supermarket, or your fly-by-night vendor. Who do I shop?
It's a complex question.
Make it
So let
cost
me-
effective for me.
Let me take it
I
one
want to
by
spend
one.
as little as possible.
Absolutely. So let me just explain to you
Yeah.
the pulls and pressures of pricing
Right.
for each of these
Right.
formats that you talked about. So if you look at a big bazaar like this,
Mm-hmm.
they carry significant costs in terms of air conditioning,
Right.
lighting, all the staff that you have,
Yeah.
paying all the taxes, and so on and so forth. So that's the cost part of it. However, they also get a significant benefit in terms of being able to negotiate a better price for the goods that they procure.
I was about to come to that because I've noticed many times when I come to buy at Big Bazaar, the prices are much lower than what I buy outside.
Right.
Perhaps it's economies of large scale. I don't know what they work on, but I found goods much
Absolutely.
cheaper here than anywhere else, to be
Absolutely.
very honest.
So it's economy of scale. You absolutely got it on
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
So your trucking cost becomes lower because
Lower.
you're carrying more goods in the same truck.
Correct.
Your ability to negotiate
Right.
with your supplier becomes that
Right.
much better, and therefore net you may be able to find things cheaper here, which in
Right.
your case was true.
Right.
If you go to a Kinara shop, obviously many of the things become different for the Kinara shop. Some
Right.
of them a few of them are taking electricity illegally. Therefore, the cost of electricity goes down. Their staff cost is much lower. They'll get one boy to manage the
Everything.
supply chain, run around, deliver, and
Yes.
so on and so forth. But their ability to also negotiate with their supplier is also that much lesser.
Right.
So even though they got less costs, their ability to get the prices right is also a challenge.
Yeah.
And therefore, you may find certain things cheaper at the Kinara shop versus some things in Big Bazaar, and that's a discovery process that the consumer have to find.
Right.
There is no straight answer that something will be cheaper or overall the big format shops will be cheaper and the Kinara shops will be more expensive.
Of course, overall net, as far as my wallet is concerned, when I shop for my weekly or monthly groceries, am I paying higher or lower? Very simply.
Very difficult question to
Very
answer. It's a
difficult
simple question,
question,
but difficult to answer because you have to analyze the supply chain for all of them.
You do realize I've asked this second time around.
I know if I pick this up,
Yeah,
the lean
yeah,
atta, whatever
yeah.
it is,
Yeah.
the packaging comes from a different company.
Correct.
There's a different tax in the packaging. There's a plastic inside which
Right.
comes from a separate company. The labeling is
Labeling
happening
happened by a separate company.
Now-
So that is why anyway the price will go up.
The price will go up,
Yeah.
and will I be able to take benefit of the taxes that I pay to these entities when I
Right,
put everything together
right.
into a packaged atta in this particular case?
Right.
And in GST regime, I'll be able to take the tax credit, right? And so net, maybe this package will be cheaper,
Cheaper than what it is right, now.
Maybe.
Not
But
compared to my Kirana store who may give me
Correct.
unpackaged.
unpackaged thing, which is also being sold here.
Which is also being sold here, yes, that's right.
The other point to keep in mind is that there are services involved which now are getting taxed at 18%.
That's right.
So there will be a CA that he has to pay for this, whoever has put
Oh
this
yes,
together.
absolutely.
They'll have other services
That'll all
that
get
you have to
factored
pay.
into the
They'll all get paid over here finally.
The MRP, yes.
So that's why I'm not able to answer your question because it's a complex
It's a
question
complex
to
question, right?
answer.
So let's draw up the comparison now between e-commerce, your big baskets and your Spencers of the world compared to buying at a supermarket. What's going to get cheaper for me? How is e-commerce going to change the lay of the land after the GST regime kicks in as opposed to the brick and mortar players?
So, the e-commerce entities will find it a little bit more challenging in the sense that they are from day one a pan-India operator.
Right.
And if they are a pan-India operator, since GST is a destination-based tax,
Right.
it essentially means the tax will happen where you sell.
Correct.
Unlike the previous regime where tax was happening where you manufacture, and then
correct.
eventually you would also have a sales
Yes,
tax, right?
yes.
If that happens, and remember that 1,000 filing question that you asked, me,
Yes.
right? So they have to file those 1,000 filings, right?
Yes.
For the platform operator again, which is different from those who are selling on e-commerce, those who run the e-commerce platform, again there are certain other provisions, so life will be a little more complex for them as we move forward. But there will be a largely a leveling field that will start happening. And net, if you ask the question that will it be cheaper to buy online versus offline, ceteris paribus, keeping everything else the same.
The same, right.
That they all have the same rate of capital.
Right.
They are not discounting
Understandably,
based
yes.
on the capital availability. Then it depends on the supply chain that they have. And in India, the supply chain which a Kinara store has sometimes is more efficient than what a e-commerce center would
E-commerce,
have.
yes.
And therefore the true value of the supply chain will come up. But having said all of that, we all know that e-commerce has an advantage of being able to bring in
cheaper.
enormous amount of capital at very low
Right.
cost, and therefore if they use that and the discount products, then you will have products cheaper on the e-commerce platform,
Right.
unless the government again changes rules and says they can't discount products.
Sure, but e-commerce also stands to be at a very large advantage to the brick and mortar players because upfront they don't have any cost of acquisition of land or rentals for that matter, because land, as we all know, is very prohibitive in this country. Again, the question is taxation on your rentals itself. How does that work then? Because that will all get factored in when you're buying from a brick and mortar player, right?
True. No, absolutely. So, but that's happening even now.
Right.
The taxes are being paid by an entity like Big Bazaar
Yeah,
over
but
here.
is it higher or lower?
Will it go higher or lower? It will go higher because you are now paying your rentals will be treated as services,
Right.
and you'll be paying 18%
18%
tax.
as opposed to the 12% plus cess that you were paying earlier. Well, on that good and happy note, rather, let's take a quick break right here on GST and you. So Sujaji, do you expect any kind of knee-jerk reaction coming in from all these suppliers, manufacturers or retailers as GST kicks in? Do you see any kind of a knee-jerk reaction, whether it is a shortfall in terms of supply or a complete mess in terms of not knowing how much to decide what the pricing of the product would be?
No, I don't think businesses will have a knee-jerk reaction. I think it's probably the other way around, that many of them are still waiting and watching. Especially the smaller entities, because they really don't know what the next step should be. And but for the larger entities, I don't believe that there will be any knee-jerk reaction. In terms of the transitionary point, and we talked about the stocks being taken out as of now before 30th of June, I think those are things which have been planned out, which have been taken in view of the information that was available at that point in time. And given their belief on how much of documentation they can get in. So these are thought through processes. In terms of knee-jerk reaction or products not being available, we don't foresee that going to happen. It's going to be much more placid than what's coming out as a noise that's coming out to be. It's going to come and go very, very smoothly from a consumer perspective.
If I can rewind your memory back when the GST Council was discussing the classification of goods under these various tax brackets, they took a very long time to come up with the classification of goods. I mean, for the longest time we knew that there were 4 tax brackets, and if you include 0 then 5 tax brackets, but we didn't know which goods got classified under which tax bracket, and then finally they came up with this one entire list of this is under this and that is under that. Now, one of the things that is going completely viral on Facebook and your social media is something like a sanitary napkin. This is something which is a requirement of every woman in this country. Why 18% for something like this? At the same time, the same viral posts are saying that a sindoor has been made tax-free. Now, that's the biggest criticism coming in from the government as far as the women of this country is concerned, and they have a right to be angry at the government for doing something so outrageous and so irrational of that nature.
Right. No, I don't know what the wisdom that the government had taken based on which they chose the rates.
Right.
I can only guess, and my guess is that given the multiplicity of products, it was pretty much the same situation as putting a line between India and Pakistan.
Right.
It was basically done with a pen on a map,
right,
without seeing what the ground realities are. I think given the shortage of time, that's probably what happened.
Right.
And I'm pretty sure that the government in its wisdom would again relook at this issue, because this is for sure a necessary product. It's an essential commodity, just like medicines is, just like food is. And if food and medicines is 0%, then I'm sure there is merit to the argument that sanitary napkins should also be 0%. But again, as I said, I don't know the details of the rationale, and I'm sure the government will take a relook at it.
Secondly, now you also have a parallel grey market existing in this country, which gives you a lot of these white products and consumer durables without a bill, and you end up paying less money. And we've seen that a lot. As much as it's illegal, it's a rampant process in India, where you go to a grey market and buy your mobile phones and your consumer durables at a much cheaper rate because they're giving it to you without a bill. Now, what happens to them? Are they likely to get wiped off? Are they likely to get weaned off? I mean, it's for the better, because then you're bringing everyone under the tax bracket.
So both at the end retail point and also in the middle of the supply chain, you have many such players whose only survival is through tax evasion.
Right.
Clearly, those entities will wipe out.
Wipe out completely.
With that, will jobs get wiped out? Not necessarily. If you look at jobs as an overall black box, jobs from these entities which have not been tax compliant will go away. But those who have been tax compliant will grow faster, and they will absorb more people.
Right.
In terms of what happens to the white goods sellers at the end point, and if they're not giving the bill, the motivation to not give the bill will be significantly reduced now in the GST regime, because only gaining 1 to 2%. Having said that, there still will be motivation to still not show that a sale has happened, because they would not like to show what their income is, because on the income you will also have a direct tax coming in. The regular income tax, as we call it, that will come in. So it will still be a cat and mouse game, and we'll still have challenges where the players will still not pay taxes, not because they want to evade the indirect taxes, but because they want to evade the direct taxes.
Direct taxes as well. Now, so that means that the grey market is here to start getting weaned off slowly but steadily. It will happen.
I think that's a right
conclusion.
GST is just one of the components.
Correct.
It's not just GST which will force them out. There will be other things that are happening which is going to squeeze them out and or bring them back to the track of being pliant, compliant business people.
Business people, right. So it's good because you're then bringing this unorganized market into a very organized market of sorts in India. So Jayji, the large part of the unorganized sector now comes into the organized sector bracket.
They'll be motivated to come under the organized sector.
Yeah. So now, what happens to consumer durables now? Am I going to pay a higher price for my mobile phones, for my TVs, for my toasters and my regular consumer durables that get consumed by me at home, like a microwave or my mobile phone for that matter? Is it likely to get more expensive? Is it likely to get cheaper? What happens?
Well, in the short run, given the rates that have come out, they'll definitely they'll become more expensive in the short run. Because the rates have become 28%, which is about 4% more than what it used to be. Especially if you look at the smaller items, the irons and so on and so forth, they had an even lower rate.
Right.
So the increase for them is significantly higher. Having said that, if you look at, let's say, Maharashtra, where there was an octroi of 5%, there the tax rate will actually come down by about 1%.
Right.
So there will be ups and downs, but mostly if you make a generic statement, the generic statement is that the white goods will become more expensive in the GST regime. But in the short term, because white goods have perhaps one of the most complex supply chain, and the supply chain gets optimized, then we believe that over a period of time that 4 to 5% extra tax that you're paying will become lower because of the 4 to 5%
manufacturing going down.
Absolutely. Correct. The optimization of the supply chain will make sure that that cost comes down.
So prima facie, what people think that this is now getting more expensive is set to get cheaper in terms of the manufacturing cost coming down, and somewhere that reduction in manufacturing cost will get replaced by the additional tax component that you end up paying. So there wouldn't be much of a difference perhaps to the overall pricing
perhaps
in the
because
long run.
the urban myth is that wherever the taxes are going up, the urban myth is that the cost will go up, the price will go up. That's not necessarily true, because your cost is addition of taxes plus your supply chain and manufacturing. Now because of GST, we expect that the supply chain and your manufacturing costs will come down a tad bit, if not significantly more in many cases. If you look at all of these white goods, are manufactured in possibly one location and supplied to all over India. Because of GST, much of your supply, your travel through the states, your time taken to travel through will come down significantly. Because of one of the aspects called the e-way bill. And the entire nation will have one single mechanism of doing the documentation when you're passing from state to state. Which implies that your time taken to transfer goods from one location to another location comes down by a few days. So it takes 8 to 9 days to transfer goods from Delhi to Chennai. Post GST, it's expected it will come down to about 4 to 5 days.
Oh, is it?
And that means you're saving 3 days of holding cost. So 3 days of your working capital gets saved.
Correct. So
and that money gets passed on to the consumer.
The only bad news where I see now is going out and eating in restaurants, and that's become more expensive. Going and getting a blow dry at a salon is getting more expensive. My mobile phone bills are all set to become very expensive. How do I deal with that?
I'll probably agree with everything else, because wherever there is a service involved, there is a larger tax that's coming in. It's 18% tax.
My Ubers and my Olas and my apps.
Uber will be more expensive. Your Ola will definitely.
Food delivery services.
Absolutely. So your aggregator cab services will be more expensive. But when you go and eat in a restaurant, it may not be more expensive. It may be a tad cheaper, because when you go to a restaurant now, you're getting taxed based on you are being served a material, which is food, and you're also getting taxed based on the fact that there's a service being offered, right? It's pretty much similar to when you do a annual maintenance contract. When you pay for the annual maintenance contract, there is a service element and then there is a material element.
As well,
Now, a priori, the government doesn't know how much of material you will give and how much of service you will give. And it's very, very complex to separate the two post facto. So what the government does is ends up treating it as a goods and treating it as a service, and therefore puts both the taxes, goods tax and service tax
together, which is
called VAT and service tax, right? What they do is they give an abatement in both cases, in both in your restaurant food and in your AMC for your fridge and AC and so on and so forth. And that abatement sometimes is 20%, sometimes 30%. So if your AMC is 100 rupees, you'll pay tax on probably 140, 150 rupees. If your food is 100 rupees, in the current regime, you're paying taxes of about 150 rupees of food, although you just bought 100 rupees of food. Because food is treated as both service and as goods. In the GST, that will change. You will have one single tax, and therefore you may have your food cheaper than what you have been expecting.
Absolutely.
So you may go out more frequently post GST for having food.
All right, Jayjeet, then that's good news finally.
Absolutely.
And there is light at the end of the tunnel. So on that note, it's a wrap on this episode of GST and You with Dr. Jayjeet Bhattacharya, the partner of KPMG, who has enlightened us on what GST really means for you. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is Chaiti Narula signing off.